Now, this wouldn't be a proper CAD Junkie tutorial if we didn't talk a little bit about the connection between SolidWorks and Modo. Now, Modo is how we created all the pretty images of Ampy that are on CAD Junkie. And also, I've even gone and created this cool little animation of Ampy kind of coming across the screen and getting scared and then running away and coming back. And it's really, really fun to set this kind of thing up in Modo, and not super easy to do that in CAD systems. So being able to import between SolidWorks and something like Modo is really, really helpful. Here you can see that we've got him all rigged up so that he actually looks at this green look target all the time. So as the look target moves, he's always staring right at it. You can see he looks right at it even as he's moving across his path. Also, if we zoom in here, you'll see that his wheels, let's actually go to Gooch mode so you can see a little bit better. So you'll watch his wheels. As he moves, his wheels will actually rotate. It's a little hard to see actually because he's moving relatively quickly right there. But if we move a little slower, right here, you see his wheels are rotating in sympathy with his motion. And that's all automatically done here in Modo. We can see we've got all kinds of detail in here that's really, really fun to play with. So let's talk about going back and forth between Modo and SolidWorks, because actually it's really straightforward. I'm going to close up this scene and just start from scratch here. Now here we are in a blank Modo scene, and if you want to import something from SolidWorks, on the PC side, this doesn't work on the Mac, but on the PC, you can just go File, Open. It's as easy as that. And Modo can actually open SolidWorks assemblies and part files natively. And if we zoom out here, there he is. So he comes right in. But there are a lot of disadvantages to using the native SolidWorks importer, one of which being that the mesh quality is not fantastic. So if I come here and I can see I've got all these static mesh items representing our object here. I'm going to convert those to regular mesh items just so we can see. And you can see that these meshes are actually kind of ugly. They're full of triangles and just nastiness. And in general, this is not going to be a great import experience. So you can use it. It works fine. But let's talk about a slightly more gooder way. Let's close this up. I'll go back to SolidWorks. And you know, I've saved out an XB file. If I go here and save out a Parasolid binary file, then Modo is going to be able to open that natively if you have the Modo CAD Loader plugin. Now, the CAD Loader plugin is a little bit expensive these days, but oh so worth it if you're working with CAD data. And by the way, it can open STEP and IGES files as well, but it's going to have to convert those to Parasolid all along the way anyway. So you might as well just save a Parasolid file, and that's going to give you the best, cleanest, most consistent results straight out of SolidWorks. So let's go File, Open. And this time I'm going to open the assembly as that Parasolid file. And this time it's going to ask me how I want to import it. I can import this as a mesh item, or I can import it as what's called a CAD item. So let's import it as a mesh first, and then we can actually set preferences for how dense we want that mesh to be. And this really just depends on the tolerances that you need to work with. And in general, you want to keep this as loose as absolutely necessary. So I'm going to set this distance tolerance to, I don't know, 0.1 millimeters. We'll set the minimum edge to 1 millimeter. We don't need any shorter than that. And we'll set the maximum edge to 5 millimeters. And then hit OK. It's going to convert all of those pieces using its Parasolid kernel into mesh items. And then you can see them all here. And they're all really nice, clean meshes. You can see this is not a triangulated mesh. This is all nice, clean quad meshes. And it's even been intelligent and put in instances in areas, or I should say replicators, wherever it's got duplicate geometry. So it looks like these wheels are missing right now. But if I turn on RayGL, you'll see that they're actually there. They're just not showing in our current OpenGL viewport. So really nice import, and these come in as clean meshes that you can just totally start to use. Let me close this and run that operation again. This time I'll open up the Parasolid file as a CAD item. Okay? We'll open that up. It's going to think for a minute longer this time, which is no problem. But now we have a CAD item that's not actually meshed. You can see it doesn't even show us the edges of our mesh because it's actually reading each of these things as a CAD item. If I select this object here, this is a vector object. It's not been converted to polys yet. So I can look in the properties for that object, and you'll see that I still have control over the mesh density settings for that object. So I can always just go ahead and hit Convert to Mesh, and it'll convert it to mesh at the resolution selected. Let's say we want for this, this inner wheel area here, it doesn't actually need to be the same resolution as that. It could be lower. So let's set the minimum edge here. It can stay 1 millimeter. We'll set the maximum edge up to 15 millimeters and update tessellation and convert to mesh. And now you can see it's letting those polys be a lot bigger for that object. So by importing in this way, we get a lot more control where we can actually convert these one by one and get really tight control over exactly what our mesh looks like here in Modo, and hopefully get really nice rendered results. And here's what our final scene looks like here in Modo. You can see that it looks super nice. I can animate this and it'll come out looking every bit this great all the time. I can also export layered versions of this where the shadow is separate from the reflection and all of the different colors are easy to alpha mask in After Effects or Photoshop. Everything is separated out for really nice, clean retouching. So Modo and SolidWorks are a fantastic pair. They work really well together these days. In fact, you can go back and forth between Modo. You can actually do modeling in Modo and bring it into SolidWorks by various means. So I definitely recommend Modo as a really powerful tool if you need the kind of power that Modo offers. If you need simpler rendering tools, 98% of designers, KeyShot is a great way to go, or PhotoView 360, any of the simpler tools out there for rendering. But if you want the kind of power and control, especially over animation, that I can get here with Modo, then I definitely recommend checking out our Modo Studio Photography series here at CAD Junkie. That one's going to be a really exciting series, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. Okay, we'll see you around.